We continue now at the top of Daf Samach Gimel Amud Aleph Meseches Eruvin. This is Eruvin Daf 63a. The Amud here will discuss more cases and more stories about students issuing rulings in the presence of their Rebbeim. So the Gemara says, Rav Hamnuna Ori Becharta Da'argiz B'shani de Rav Chisda. Rav Hamnuna used to issue rulings in Charta Da'argiz, that's the name of a place, in the years of Rav Chisda. Ravina Sar Sakina B'Bavel. Ravina used to inspect knives used for slaughtering in Bavel. Amar Le Rav Ashi. So Rav Ashi said, my time of it Marhachi, why is the master doing this? Amar Le said, Rav Hamnuna Ori Becharta Da'argiz B'shani de Rav Chisda. He said, why shouldn't I do it? Rav Hamnuna used to issue rulings in Charta Da'argiz while Rav Chisda was alive. Amar Le, so Rav Ashi responded, Lav Ori Itmar. It was that he did not issue rulings. The story you have backwards. It wasn't that he issued rulings, he did not issue rulings. Amar Le Itmar Ori ve'itmar Lav Lo Ori. So he said back to him, Ravina said back to Rav Ashi, no, the story was both ways. There was one story where he issued rulings. There was another story where he did not issue rulings. B'shnei Rav Huna Rabbe Yehuda Lo Ori. In the years of Rav Huna, who was his real Rebbe, he did not issue rulings. V'ori b'shnei Rav Chisda the Talmud Chaver Dilei Have. However, in the years of Rav Chisda, where he was what's called a Talmud Chaver, which is he's a student, but also sort of at the same level as Rav Chisda, then he did issue rulings. V'anon nami Talmud Chaver Demarano, and Ravina said to Rav Ashi, I'm also a Talmud Chaver of yours. Yes, I'm a Talmud of yours, but I'm also a Chaver of yours, and therefore it's okay for me to issue rulings, or in this particular case, it's okay for me to inspect the knives in Bavel. Amar Rava said, Sorba me Rabbanan, Chazi Lenafshe. A Tzorba me Rabbanan, meaning a Talmud Chacham, is allowed to inspect the knife for himself, for his own use, again, even if his Rebbe is alive. Ravina ikla lemechuza. Ravina went to Mechuza. Aisi ushbezichne sakina v'kamachvile. So his host brought him a knife and he showed it to me. Wanted him to look at the knife. Amar Le, he said to him, Zil amti l'Rava. He said, go bring it to Rava. Right now we're in Mechuza. It's the city of Rava. It is not respectful for me to check it while he's around. Amar Le, so he said to him, Lo savar mar hadam Rava tzorba merabbanon chazi l'nafshe. Don't you hold of that which Rava says that a Talmud Chacham could check if it's for himself? And this is for yourself, so what do we need to go find Rava for? Amar Le said back to him, Anam mizvan zavina. He said, I'm just buying the meat, I'm just purchasing the meat. I am not actually like slaughtering the meat. That would be a different situation. Rebbe Lozer mehagrunya of Rav Abba bar Tachlifa, iklu levei Rav Acha brei Ravika ba'asrei Rav Acha bar Yaakov. So Rebbe Lozer from Hagrunya and Rav Abba bar Tachlifa, they went to the house of Rav Acha brei Ravika, and it was in the locale of Rav Acha bar Yaakov. So boy Rav Acha brei Ravika lemeved lehu iglatilsa. So Rav Acha brei Ravika wanted to make for them, he wanted to prepare some calf. There's a machlokas what exactly iglatilsa is. Either it means it was like a third of the way grown, or it means that the calf was the third one that was born from its mother, from the mother calf. In any case, he wanted to prepare this iglatilsa for them. Aisi sakina v'kamachvilu. So he brought a knife and he showed it to them for inspection. Amar lehu Rav Acha bar Tachlifa. So Rav Acha bar Tachlifa said to them, Lo lecha shlei l'saba. Shouldn't we be concerned about the elder? Meaning, shouldn't we be concerned about the kavod of Rav Acha bar Yaakov? We should show it to him. Amar lehu Rav Elazar me'Hagrunya. So Rav Elazar from Hagrunya responded and he said, Hachi amar Rava. So says Rava, Tzorba me Rabbanan chazi l'nafshe, that a Talmud Chacham can inspect for himself. Chazi. So in fact, they did inspect it for themselves. V'yanish Rebbe Elazar mehagronia, and Rebbe Elazar from Hagronia was punished for that because they should have accorded this respect to Rav Acha bar Yaakov. So the Gemara asks, why did he get punished? V'amar Rava, but didn't Rava say Tzorba me Rabbanan chazi l'nafshe, that a Tzorba me Rabbanan is allowed to inspect for himself? So the Gemara says, Shani Hasam Daschila Bechvado. It's different in this particular case because they began discussing his covet. If they already began speaking about him, saying Nechush L'Saba, let's be concerned about the covet of the elder, in that case you shouldn't then say, we don't need to be concerned. Or you can answer, Shani Rav Acha bar Yaakov. Rav Acha bar Yaakov is different. The Muflag, he was a Muflag. Rashi says he was very old and wise, so more than just a regular Rebbe in the location, and they should have been more concerned about that. Amar Rav, and Rava says, Ulafrusha me'isura, if the Talmud wants to stop someone from doing an Isser, so it's not simply issuing a ruling, but there's a situation of Isser going on in Aveir and he wants to stop it, Afilo b'fon of Shaper Dami, that the Talmud could do even in front of his Rebbe, even right in front of his Rebbe, it's not a problem. Ravina have a Yosef Kamei de Rav Ashi. There was a story, Ravina was once sitting in front of Rav Ashi, Chaz Yalu Gavr de Ka'aser Le L'chamre B'tzinsa B'Shapsa. He saw a particular individual who was tying his donkey to a palm tree on Shabbos, which was a problem of making use of a tree, Mishtamshin Be'ilon, which is an Isser D'Rabbanan on Shabbos. Roma Bey Kolav Lo Ashkech Bey, so he yelled at him, and the guy didn't pay attention. Amar Lei, so then he said, Lahave Hagavra B'Shamta, this person should be in Chayrim. Amar Lei said to him, Ki Hagavna Mi Mischazakaf Karusa. Then Ravina said to Rav Ashi, the way I was acting in that situation, was I acting in a way of hefker? Was it disrespectful? Amar Lei, he said back to Mein Chachma, Vein Tvuna, Vein Eitzel Neged Hashem. No, there's no wisdom, there's no understanding, there's no counsel in front of Hashem, meaning, Kol Makom Sheyesh Bo Chil Hashem, any situation where there's a desecration of Hashem, in Chok and Kavod L'Rav, the student does not have to give kavod to the Rebbe, it's important to stop the Isser. Amar Rava said, Befonav Asur V'chayev Misa. If a person issues a ruling in front of his Rebbe, it's Asur, and not only is it Asur, but there's a Chayev Misa. Shalo Befana, but if it's not in front of him, Asur, it's prohibited. V'yein Chayev Misa, but there's no Chayev Misa. Rashi over here says, Befonav Asur Lahoros V'chayev Misa B'dei Shamayim. He says that if it's in front of him and he issues a ruling, he's chayav misa b'dei shamayim. Now this is not going on separating somebody from iser. Ella al haboli shal is just going on issuing a ruling when someone comes to ask. So so we're going back to those situations. So again, he's making a distinction and saying if it's in front of the Rebbe, not only is it aser, it's also chayav misa. But if it's shalo b'fanav, then it's going to be asur, but not chayav misa. So the Gemara asks, v'shalo b'fanav lo, but if it's not in front of him, there's no chayav misa. V'atanya, but we learned in a brayser. Rabbi Eliezer says, lo mesu b'nei Aaron at shahoru halacha b'fnei Moshe Rabban. The children of Aaron did not die until they issued a ruling in front of Moshe Rabbeinu. Mai derosh, what's the drasha that shows this? V'nasnu b'nei Aaron akoyin eish al mizbeach. It says that the children of Aaron put a fire on the mizbeach. Amru, they said, even though there's a fire that comes down from heaven, mitzvah lahavi min hahedyot. There's a mitzvah to bring the fire ourselves. So that was a ruling that they issued. And of course, Moshe Rabbeinu was around, and that's why they died. And then the Brisa continues, there was a certain student of Rabbi Eliezer, Shahora halacha b'fanav, who issued a ruling in front of him. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Eliezer said, Le'ima shalom ishto, to Ima shalom, his wife, to me ani im yotzi zeh. I'm going to be surprised if this student lives out the year. V'lo hotzi shanasu, he did not live out the year, he was punished. So again, you see a chiyav misa. Amra lo, she said back to him, Naviat, are you a Navi? She said to Rabbi Eliezer, his wife said to him, are you a Navi that you know he's going to die? Amar lo, he said back to her, Lo Navi anochi v'lo ben Navi anochi, I'm not a prophet, and I'm not the son of a prophet, al-kach mekublani. However, I've received the following tradition, Kol hamora halacha b'fnei Rabbo, anybody who issues a ruling in front of his Rebbe, chayiv misa, is chayiv misa, that's why I said that. V'yamar Rabbi Bar Bar Chana Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Bar Bar Chana said the name of Rabbi Yochanan, also Talmud, that particular Talmud in that story, Yehuda ben Guria Shemo, his name was Yehuda ben Guria, V'yarachuk mimenu shalosh parsos, he was 3 parsos away. So the Gemara is saying apparently he was not befanav, and he was still punished with death. So the Gemara answers, no, befanav have. He actually was, at the moment of that, he actually was in front of him. Gemara says, V'arachuk mimenu shalosh parsos, but doesn't it say he was 3 parsos away? So the Gemara says, V'letaimech, if you think that's a proof, according to your reasoning, Shmo v'shem aviv lama, what do we need to give his name for, the name of his father? Ela shelo tomar mashal, it's just so that people don't say this is just a mashal. So for the same reason, we use the shalosh parsos, but it doesn't mean he was actually far away. Rashi over here says, "B'fanav have v'hayda kotani rachok mimenu shayarachok mikomo mimakom rabo shalosh parsos." It just means that his general location, where he lived or where he generally was 3 parsos away from his Rebbe. Umiu, but nevertheless, kiori kameori. When he issued this ruling, he was actually in front of him. Again, this providing the details of where he lived and providing the details of the name of his name and his father's name, that was just that you should not say it's a mashal. Amar Reb Chia bar Abba, Amar Reb Yochanan, Reb Chia bar Abba says in the name of Reb Yochanan, Kol hamora halacha b'fnei Rabbo, anybody who issues a ruling in front of his Rebbe, Roy la'achisho nachash. It is fitting that he should be bit by a snake. Shenamar, like it says, Vayan Eliyahu ben Berachel Habuzi, and Eliyahu ben Berachel Habuzi, he answered and he responded, Vayomer, he said, Soran Eliyahu v'gomer, he says, I'm very young, Alkein zachalti, therefore I held back from speaking. So this is this idea of holding back from speaking in front of one's Rebbe. Uchsiv, and it says in Chamas, Zochal with the venom of those who crawl upon the dirt, meaning the snake. So the word zachalti is a reference to snakes. That's the idea that the person is fit to be bit by a snake. Zeiri Amar Rabbi Chanina. Now Zeiri says in the name of Rabbi Chanina, Nikra Chote, a person who issues this kind of a ruling in front of his Rebbe is called a Chote. It's called a sinner. Shenamar, like it says. Belibi tzafantim rasech. In my heart, I've hidden that which I want to say. I'm holding back from speaking. Laman lo echet in order that I don't sin to you. Rav Hamnuna Rami. Rav Hamnuna said it was a contradiction in Psukim. Going back to the pasuk we just said before, where David HaMelech does not speak, he does not issue a ruling. Ksiv belibi tzafantim rasech. It says again, in my heart, I hid my statements. I didn't say them out loud. But it also says, Bisarti tzedek b'kol rav. In front of a great congregation, I spoke righteousness. So apparently he did speak. So the Gemara says, Lokash is not difficult. Kan bizman she'ira ha'iri kayam. In one situation, Ira Hayiri, he was his Rebbe, he was alive, he wouldn't speak. Kan bizman she'in Ira Hayiri kayam. In the other situation, Ira was not alive. Amar Rabbi Abba bar Zavda, Rabbi Abba bar Zavda says, Kolanose matanos of l'kohen echad mevi rov liolam. Anybody who gives his gifts to only one kohen, he doesn't spread out the matnas kohuna, the gifts that he gives to kohanim, to various kohanim, he only gives to one kohen, mevi rov liolam. Such a person brings famine to the world. Shenemar, like it says, Ira Hayiri haya kohen leDavid. It says that Ira was the kohen for David. LeDavid hu David kohen, l'kuli alma lo. You think he was only a kohen for David and nobody else? Eloshayim eshager lo matanos. Obviously, he sent him all of his matanas, all the gifts went to Ira. What does it say right after? It says, Vayirav b'mei David. There was a famine in the days of David. So you see, it brings famine to the world. Rabbi Eliezer says, Moridan oso migdulasa. If somebody does this, we actually bring him down from his greatness. This is referring again, going back to somebody who issues rulings in front of his Rebbe. One who issues rulings in front of his Rebbe, he loses his status. Shenamar, like it says, Vayomer Elazar HaKohen El Anshe Hatzava V'Gomer. It says that Elazar spoke to the people of the army. Afa Gav Diyomer Lahu La'ache Ab Tziva Vosi Lo Tziva. Now, even though when he spoke to them, he said it wasn't coming from him. He said that the commandment was given to my uncle, to the brother of my father, it was given to Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm just a messenger. But still, he spoke in front of Moshe. Afilu Hachiyanish. Nevertheless, even though he phrased it in this polite manner, he was still punished. Because what does the pasuk say? It says, it says that Yehoshua would one day stand in front of Elazar HaKohen in this respectful manner. Rashi says, pasuk seems to be saying that one day in the future Yehoshua will stand in front of Elazar to ask him a dvar halacha. Yet we do not find that this ever happens. That Yehoshua ever needed Elazar. Rashi says, we don't find after the death of Moshe that Yehoshua ever had to ask Elazar anything. That shows that Elazar lost his status. And the Amud concludes, Amar of Levi says, called the most of Milo Kame Rabbe, anybody who answers a question, issues a ruling in front of his Rebbe, Azil l'sha'ol below Vlad, he's going to die without children. Shenemar, like it says, Vayan Yoshua ben Nun Misharis Moshe mibachura Vayomer Adoni Moshe Kloim. This is Yoshua speaking in front of Moshe, saying that these particular Nevi'im are Chayev Misa, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Gimel Amud Beis.